Chapter 1, Section 1, Biotalk, Biodiversity, Organization in the Biosphere. The biosphere is the area on Earth where living organisms can be found. Most are found in a narrow band where the atmosphere meets the surface of the land and water. Life forms are referred to as the biotic or living component of the biosphere. The abiotic or non-living component is made up of items like rocks, soil, minerals, and factors like temperature and weather. Organization in the biosphere. Organism, population. Just as you did in this activity, ecologists begin their studies with the organism. Their investigations are designed to explore how the individual interacts with its biotic and abiotic environment. However, an organism does not live on its own. It tends to form a group with others of the same species. A species is a group of organisms that can reproduce successfully only with others of the same type. These groups of species are called populations. When more than one population occupies an area, a community of organisms is created. The abiotic component as well as the community form a functional unit known as an ecosystem. The importance of biodiversity and the human threat. In this activity, you looked at some very different species of organisms. Scientists have discovered and named close to 2 million species. That would mean looking at a lot of different organisms. Yet it may be less than 20% of the species that exist. There are thousands of organisms in the world that scientists know very little about. More than 750,000 species of insects have been identified. Yet, it is thought that at least twice that many exist. Biological diversity, or biodiversity, is the sum of all the different types of organisms living on Earth. Community, ecosystem. Unfortunately, many organisms are disappearing. This is partly due to alterations of habitats. The result is a decrease in biodiversity. Ecosystems with a large number of different types of organisms are quite stable. Ecosystems with a small number of different organisms are less stable. Humans are partly responsible for this change. As the human population grows, it occupies more land. This infringes on or destroys the habitats of many organisms. The smog created by automobiles and industry is killing many types of trees over a wide area of Southern California. The needles of ponderosa pines, for example, gradually turn brown. The tops of palm trees have only small tufts. When this happens, photosynthesis is greatly reduced. The plants die. The Everglades National Park in southern Florida depends on a slowly moving sheet of water. The water flows from north to south. Drainage ditches built at the northern edge of the Everglades have decreased the flow of water over the entire area. As a result, many alligator holes have dried up. These holes help to contain fires in the Everglades. Now, destructive fires are more frequent in this national park. Okay, let me read this caption. So here's a picture, and then the caption is, "Smog is also hazardous to people. This is especially true of those with respiratory problems, that means breathing problems, the elderly, and children. People have died from the effects of smog." Tropical rainforests are the most diverse ecosystems on Earth. They are home for many different species. 2/3 of the world's species are located in the tropics and subtropics. The cutting of trees in the rainforest today has grown at a rapid rate. The trees are cut for lumber, grazing land, and other uses. This loss of habitat is destroying many species every day. Nearly half of the Earth's species of plants, animals, and microorganisms will become extinct, be gone forever, or be severely threatened during the next 25 years. Biowords: extinction, the permanent disappearance of a species from the Earth. To find a similar rate of extinction or loss of species, you need to go back 65 million years. That was the end of the Cretaceous period when dinosaurs and other organisms disappeared. Because there are more species today than there were then, the absolute number of species lost will be greater now. Hundreds of species of plants and animals are threatened today. They include the whooping crane and some rare pitcher plants. Extinction is a natural process. However, the process has been speeded up because humans have changed whole ecosystems. In tropical regions, humans are cutting down, burning, or otherwise damaging the rainforests. Extinction of many species as well as change in global climate are some of the effects of this deforestation. Why is biodiversity important? Why does it matter if whooping cranes and pitcher plants become extinct? One argument comes from genetics. In a field of crop plants planted by humans, all the plants are genetically similar. They have all inherited the same characteristics. About 90% of the world's food comes from 15 species of plants. 3 of them are corn, wheat, and rice. However, there are over 10,000 known species of cereals. If one individual gets a disease, all the plants may die. In a wild population, a vast pool of genetic characteristics are available. This means that some of the plants could resist the disease. Therefore, not all the plants would be destroyed. The extinction of each wild population erases genetic material that could mean healthy crops and animals. Once extinction occurs, the genetic material is gone forever. A second argument is related to the fact that simple ecosystems are unstable. Think of a field of corn as a simplified ecosystem. Suppose all the corn dies. This means that the whole ecosystem would collapse. The simpler the ecosystem, the easier it is to disrupt its balance. The fewer the species, the easier it is to upset an ecosystem. New species are evolving all the time. However, the process is very slow compared to the rate at which humans are able to cause species to become extinct. Each time a species becomes extinct, the biosphere is simplified a little more. It becomes more difficult to maintain the stable biosphere on which all life depends. A third argument comes from research on plants. The island of Madagascar off the east coast of Africa is the only known habitat of the Madagascar periwinkle. This plant produces 2 chemicals not produced by other plants. Both of these chemicals are used to fight Hodgkin's disease, a leukemia-like disease. As the human population on Madagascar grew, the habitat for the periwinkle shrank. The periwinkle almost became extinct. Fortunately, botanists collected and grew some of these plants before they were gone forever. The medicines made from the Madagascar periwinkle are worth millions of dollars each year. They also help many people with Hodgkin's disease to live longer. These medicines never would have been known if the plant became extinct. Extinction can cause a domino effect. Every organism in an ecosystem is connected to all the other organisms. The reduction in biodiversity caused by the extinction of a single species can cause a domino effect. The removal of one part from an ecosystem, like the removal of a moving part from a car, can cause the collapse of the entire food chain. If a species acts as a predator, it keeps the population of its prey in check. If a species is prey, It provides an important food source. For example, sea otters were overhunted along the Pacific coast of Asia and North America. This removed the main predator of the sea urchin. Predictably, the number of sea urchins grew rapidly. Sea urchins eat kelp, a form of seaweed. As the number of sea urchins grew, the amount of kelp declined. As a result, the fish that relied on the kelp for habitat and food were reduced in number. Sea otters very nearly became extinct due to hunting pressure. For humans, killing the sea otters for their fur resulted in a decline in a valuable fishery. Where the sea otter had been reintroduced, sea urchin populations have fallen, kelp beds are being reestablished, and the number of fish is increasing. Restoring the balance is a difficult task. Okay, so this is the picture of the sea otters. Introducing the sea otter to the Pacific Northwest is an example of an attempt to restore a natural balance. It is not always easy to do. Conservationists have also tried to restore the whooping crane. In spring, whooping cranes fly north to live in the marshes and swamps of the prairies and the Canadian North. They eat crayfish, fish, small mammals, insects, roots, and berries. Efforts by the United States and Canada have helped increase the population from a low of 14 individuals in 1940 to 183 in 1999. The whooping crane may be a success story, and it may not. Chemical pesticides were the original human threat to the crane. However, it was already struggling. Okay, here's a caption about the otters picture. During the fur trade, southern sea otters were hunted to near extinction. They are still a threatened species and may very well be endangered. Cranes must fly a long way between their summer homes in the north and their winter homes on the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, here's a crane. Along the way, they are vulnerable to hunting and accidents. In addition, the whooping crane reproduces very slowly. Each year, females produce 2 eggs. However, only one will mature. The first fledgling to crawl from the egg kills its brother or sister. This ensures there will be enough food for the survivor. However, it is very difficult for the species to increase in numbers. Scientists do not understand all the relationships between species ecosystems. They cannot predict what will happen if biodiversity is reduced, even by one species. If one species becomes extinct, it could be disastrous. The extent of the disaster may not be known until later. Sometimes the balance cannot be restored. Once widespread throughout North America, the whooping crane wild population dipped to just 15 birds in 1937. Through conservation efforts, the whooping crane has begun a slow recovery. However, coastal and marine pollution, illegal hunting, and the draining of wetlands continue to threaten the species.